Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is an exciting video. We're going to be doing our end of year palette ranking for 2023. Yes, it's a little bit delayed. I did want to get it up before the new year, but I was very sick that week, the week running up to the new year, hence why a few videos were a little bit delayed as well. Very sick. I had a very bad stomach bug, but here we are. Palette ranking, here we go. Today we have 22 palettes, which is the most palettes I've ever used actually. Go me. Or not, because I bought too many palettes and I still have some that I haven't even used yet. But 22 palettes this year is what we're going to be going through. We're going to be going through all of... I keep looking over here, by the way, because they're on my bed and I have them in order of the way I want to go through them because I will forget. And yeah, I'm very excited. I'm surprised. The midpoint I'm kind of not too surprised about. It's more the end and the top as well that I'm kind of surprised about. But yeah, I'm very happy with my ranking. I kind of had to, it took me a while. I had to lay them all out and put them all and shuffle them around and do all the bits with it. It took me a long time to actually get them in an order that I was very happy with, but I'm very happy right now. I also want to know, before we kick off this actual ranking, what is your prediction for my top 5? Like, tell me now before I start, what's your top 5 prediction, and let me know if you get it right, because I was kind of surprised at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm quite surprised at my top 5. I'm not, because I love them, but I kind of am a little bit. Just before we get into the actual ranking of these palettes, a little bit of maintenance. Number 1, this look is not filmed. I'm only in from work. I've got my pink jammies on. My hair is greasy and in a ponytail, and my makeup is about to fall off my face. So don't just, this has been on me since 6:30 this morning, and it is currently 8 p.m. We're lucky it's still on my face. Number 2, yes, my Christmas decorations are still up. It is currently the 3rd of January as I'm filming this. Christmas decorations are still up because in my house we are not allowed to take them down until the 6th of December or 6th of January because apparently it's bad luck according to my mother. So Christmas decorations stay up. Okay, without further ado, let us get into the 2023 palette ranking. I'm so excited. Okay, as I go through this video as well, if I forget to say numbers, like which number we're on, I'm going to have it popped up on the corner as well, just so you can see, because I tend to forget, especially halfway through the bunch. But yeah, here we are. And I know it sounds stupid because I have them all laid out. I can just count, but I might also forget to do that. So here we go. So number 22, incoming here. I kind of had a feeling it's going to be like the very bottom. Not a bad palette. I will let you know if there's anything bad about the palettes, but like, you know, something has to be at the bottom. It just does. That's just the way it is, okay? So this is the Colourpop So Fly palette. I use this towards the beginning of the year, more springtime, kind of end of the year. And it's a beautiful palette. I will say that the packaging is stunning. It's like dragonfly. I got it in a mystery box. I ordered the Black Friday mystery box, I think, in 2022, and this was one of the things that was in it. It's a beautiful, like, everyday kind of palette. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes, 1 sequin shade, which I never really like, and 4 shimmers. It's a 9-pan palette. Gorgeous neutrals, kind of peachy shades as well. The shimmers are gorgeous in it as well, although I do wish Wingtip just had a bit more oomph. I wish it came out this colour on the eye, but you just have to really get in there and build it up, and it's still a bit wishy-washy. But the reason why it's kind of down this low is it is basically a neutral with a pop of blue, and the blue is just kind of floating there with nothing to do because everything else is kind of warm and corally, which is contrasting to us. You can't really blend the blue with the coral. You know what I mean? So it kind of just, for me, I like shades out of the palette, but I don't necessarily love the palette as a whole. I did love the looks I created with it as well, though. But I don't know. I just feel like, I would never have bought this for myself. Never would have picked it. I just got it in a mystery box. Ouch, I just realised another Colourpop palette. Number 21, this is Making Mauves. Now this I actually really like. I do really like it. It is, filthy is what it is. It's filthy. This has also got a sequin shade in it, which always takes a point away from me because I'm just like, just give me the matte or a shimmer. I don't care, but not the sequin shade. It's a mauve toned palette. It's really nice, gorgeous neutrals. Kind of like an everyday palette for me. Like, I like an everyday palette that has that kind of vibe to it as well. You've got a Super Shock shade here as well. This is gorgeous. It goes really dark in your lighter shades. I don't necessarily need this here because it's my skin colour and it does nothing for me, but I do really like these blending shades as well. The reason why it's number 21 is because I forgot I had it a little bit. This and one more palette I did forget, but the other palette ranks higher because I did actually really enjoy that one. I think it's a lovely kind of everyday palette. I'll definitely keep this. I don't know about the So Fly when I do my declutter for it. But I'll definitely keep this one because I do think it's a lovely everyday palette. But it's just kind of like, when I ordered this, I thought this was going to be like the Orchid You Not, I think it was called. And the Orchid You Not came out like literally about a week after I ordered this one. And I kind of wish I had that one because that was more like the vibe of like the mauvey shades that I was looking for. But yeah, that's it. I do like it. It's just has to go somewhere in the ranking. Okay, next. Shocker. Let me just say that. And it's mostly due to the colour story for this one. So at number 20 is the Glamlite. Bear with me. Ghostface Lives palette. Oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. It just kept falling down the line as I was putting them out. And I'm like, I don't know how you ended up this low, but you are here. Now, like, this is not the one that kicked off the kind of horror makeup trend of the year from Glamlite. But it is the one that like kind of did kick it off a little bit. It's a beautiful, stunning, cool tone smoky palette. So stunning. The shimmers are amazing. The mattes blend beautifully. They're more of the creamy kind of putty sort of feel shimmers though as well, which I do find creases on me a little bit. So I have to be very careful with the kind of primer I use on my eyes. But I've got very oily eyelids anyway, so you know, it factors in. I love like the tones, I love the embossing, I love the names, I love all that. It's mostly due to the fact that I can only kind of do either like a bluey grey or grey with the palette. That's the main reason. Like there is differences in the shimmers, but the mattes, some of the shades I think could have been different. Like I didn't need a sequined black and a matte black. Just give me a matte black and a metallic black. Maybe, or a black with like a red duochrome or a purple duochrome or something, or a blue duochrome even, because you have this kind of shade here which looks very grey but it's actually quite blue when it's on. You've got another sequin shade here which has like silver and blue sparkles in it, which is pretty. It looks beautiful, but the sparkles just don't stick on the eye. And that's very like this one, which is also matte. You know what I mean? So there is a bit of repetition in it. I still love the palette so much. I can't stress it enough. It's just not one note, maybe two notes. You know what I mean? If that makes sense, like two notes of a palette. That's kind of all. And with the Glamlite palettes, you'll see them scattered, quite literally scattered for the horror palettes throughout this. And there is ones that I just think I can get a bit more variety out of. I can do a little bit more with. But when I want a cool tone smoky eye, this is the palette that I'm pulling. Absolutely. In at number 19, we have got the Nomad Fete de Provence, I think, palette. Now this was the kind of, this wasn't the reason why I first ordered from Nomad. It's actually another palette that's coming up. I'm one of those people where I can't just order one thing after order two. So like I'll pick another palette, and I seen this and I was like, that colour story really speaks to me. It really does. And it really does. It's so interesting. I love this cool tone side down here with these purples, and placing the purples and yellows right next to how contrasting they are really just draws my eye in, and that's what's going to get me. You want me to buy a palette, put contrast and colours beside each other, and it makes me just think, oh, they just jump at me. Now, I loved the look I did with it. I loved my kind of grey toned eye with the poppy yellow and the unicorn. That was one of my favourite looks I did this year actually as well. The reason why this is lower down is because of these two shades here mostly. They just aren't punchy enough. I think this just could have been a little bit more red because you have the pale up here to blend. I don't need this to be pale and then blending with a pale, or like more of like a transparent kind of colour. Same with the pink. I haven't used every shade in this palette though, but like this is not fully black, it's more of a charcoal, but I'm okay with that. That's absolutely fine. I don't always need a black in a palette, but I just wish it was like there was just more punch in it, like with those mattes down there, because you can get the softness with the shimmers. The shimmers are quite light. That yellow in the middle though, that shimmer yellow, oh, gorgeous. And yeah, I just kind of wish, I just feel like when you put this on and then blend it with this, it doesn't do that much more. You know what I mean? So not necessarily this one, more so this one is what I used for one of my looks, this row here, and it kind of happens with this. So yeah, that's why it's kind of down here. I am also going to say right now as well, I am on a palette no buy. I was on a low buy before. I'm on a no buy right now because I have to finish using these palettes for like 2 looks on palettes and all that kind of stuff. I also have a stack of palettes that I haven't used yet down there. Right there. And I have other ideas that I want to do as well for my YouTube channel. It's all makeup vibes, don't get me wrong, and all palette vibes. But I want to use what I have. I want to play with makeup. I want to get more creative again. I don't just want to be like, I have to do first brush. No, I have to do 2 looks on palette and I have to do this, have to do this. I want to do palette bingos again because they're fun. I want to do palette rankings like this one. I want to do like just different things talking about palettes. I want to do build your own palette. I want to do my declutters coming back as well. Finish that off because she needs to happen. And the other reason as well is I can't fit any more palettes in my drawers. I just can't. But I want to play with palettes. Even if they're discontinued, I don't care. I want to play with them. I want to do my Instagram stories as well. Not Instagram stories, reels. And yeah, just play with the stuff that I have. So that is what's happening. Now, if a palette comes out that is just spectacular, on either a collab I've been just dreaming of or it has to absolutely blow my mind, I will order it. But it has to absolutely blow my mind. And I know on my make wish list over like October when I posted that, I did have a few palettes on that list. I didn't order any palettes over Black Friday. I didn't order any of them. Any of the ones that were on my list, I didn't order any of them. So they're for future, if they're still around, for future. And also some of them weren't in stock. But still, I didn't order them. That's my little PSA for the middle of the video, which is a very random place to put it. But yeah, that is our first 4. Let me get another stack. Okay, so now for number 18 is a palette that I used not too long ago actually. Just before spooky season kicked off. This is the Give Me Glow Vivid Rose palette. Now this is a beautiful palette, I do have to say. It's kind of just been bumped down a little bit in the row because I think I can do a little bit more with other things. But look, oh, she's gorgeous. She's hefty as well. She's a big girl. I do wish this was more of a shimmer like this. I wish a shimmer like this was this one. That's what I want. And then this palette would probably be near enough perfect. Because you have this one here, which is like a kind of gold to pink duochrome, which kind of matches this one, but I just wish it was one like this. I love this grunge end down here. I have done a first impression on this, but no 2 looks on palettes. If you want to know any palettes that I've used or anything like that, and want to see any looks inspiration for any of them, search them on my YouTube channel and you'll find different ones that I've already done with this. And then when I post my 2 looks on palettes with any of the ones that I haven't done, they will come up as well. But yeah, I love this. I love this like aubergine kind of purpley kind of color down here. I love Give Me Glow's formula as well. The shimmers are so stunning from Give Me Glow. They're just so rich and shiny. I adore them. In at number 17, we've got a little palette. This is the Huda Beauty Wild Jaguar palette. I'm going to hold it upside down so I don't blind you. It's one of their 9-pan palettes, and I will say this shocked me. I bought this like a while ago and I just never got around to using it until this year. And I love the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes. I have a good few of them. I've done rankings. I've done all the videos on them. And this one came out and I was like, oh, that's a cute little smoky one. I do have the smoky one already though. But I was like, I just like the duochromes, the shimmers and everything like that in this. The only gripe I have with it is that this one up here, I just don't need these colours. I just don't. They do nothing for me apart from an extra blend. But like I can do that anyway with the brush. So maybe like another matte shade, like a more kind of true purple matte or a mustard matte might have been nice as well in there. I love how deep it goes and how bright it goes. I love these shimmers. I think it's beautiful. I was very shocked when I first used it how much I actually really enjoyed the look that I was wearing, considering it was like a neutral smoky palette. I was very shocked. So it did get bumped up above a few palettes, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. In at number 16, we have got the Odin's Eye, first Odin's Eye palette of this ranking. And there's a few. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Odin's Eye palettes on this ranking. This is the Norns palette, the original Norns palette. It has since been revamped, like it's been repackaged a little bit, and I don't know if it's been like fully revamped formula wise, but I have the old version. This is her here. She's got small little circle pans. I really love this colour story. This colour story like screamed at me when I was like started shopping with Odin's Eye for the first time. I love weirdly this colour. I always say it, but I just find the colour really weird and I love it. I think we could have done with maybe 1 or 2 more mattes. This red here, not my favourite. It's one of those like hard pressed metallics that gets hard pan very easy. It currently has hard pan, even though I've used it once. This is like a satiny kind of black as well. You've got a dark kind of brown. I think maybe like a matte, say green. I don't know, just another matte instead of this red. I think another matte would have done well. But you've got some gorgeous duochromes. This is when they started to really vamp up their shimmer formula as well, but to have multiple different types of shimmers in the palette. So you've got a very thin shimmer here, which is a multi-chrome. You've got this gorgeous duochrome here. You've got this is like wet looking up here, the shade, what is it called, Amber Palace. And in this bottom row is all the magic you ever need in your life. It's just so shifty and duochromy, mermaid vibes, all that jazz. I love this palette so much. I love the looks that I created with this as well. I think it's so fun. The reason again it's kind of further down is that there is things that I do wish were different about it, like the red, like another matte, all that kind of stuff. But again, it kind of has to fall somewhere in the list. Okay, on to number 15 and another Glamlite palette. Technically 2 palettes because they go together, but I am going to do them both separately. This is the Glamlite and Nightmare on Elm Street. This one is the Dream Master palette, and this is the red one. The red palette of the collection. This is how she looks here. I literally only used this in December for the first time. This one does have one of those kind of like reds that gets a bit hard pan and hard pressed. Not as bad as the one in the Odin's Eye ones. That's kind of why I came up another little bit here. I love the idea that this is a monochrome palette that's not monochrome. It's a red palette, burgundy, all that kind of stuff, but you've got the greys in there. And I think that really just kind of like takes it to a different side where you can do different things with it as well. The shimmers in it are gorgeous, most of them anyway. I've only done a first impression on one eye with this palette because I've done a two-toned eye with these 2 palettes. The mattes are stunning, they blend really beautifully and they build up really nice as well for Glamlite too. I'm very excited to kind of use this shimmer here and like this one as well. I think that'd be beautiful in a smoky eye. And just kind of play a little bit more with it. But again, like reason why again it's kind of down here as well as the other one is it is still slightly monochrome, so there is only so far you'll be able to go with it. Even with the greys in there, you'll be able to do grey and red, smoky, that kind of thing. But just other colour stories I think just give me a little bit more variety with them. And number 14, I think the number's up there, so I don't know why I keep trying to say it. This is the Freddy Krueger palette. This is the green one. This is stunning. This is what I want the smoke sessions to be from Melt. This colour story, because there's so much more I can do with this compared to that one. The shimmers in that are beautiful and the formula is beautiful, but there is one super dark matte for the emeralds and one super dark matte for the khaki side. This gives me both and without having to have that much in the palette. So you've got a whole row of shimmers up top, all different types. I've used this one, no, yes, this one, and a couple of the mattes as well to do my look. You've got a matte black down here as well, which deepens up all of these, but these 2 are kind of more bluey toned and then these 2 are more khaki toned, and the same with the shimmers. You get a little bit of variety with them all. And the light shade is a shimmer. So, I mean, winner all around here. And I just love the tones of the greens in here. I think it's so beautiful. But again, it's still a green palette. It's still a monochromatic palette to an extent. So she got knocked. Freddy, you got knocked a little bit. Okay, so next up is number 13, I think. I don't know. Follow the numbers. See, this is what I mean. I get halfway through, I take some palettes out, and then I forget. This is the palette that was actually the first palette that I used this year. Well, last year technically, but in 2023. And this is the Ace Beauté Paletopoly. Bringing the fun back in makeup. And it's the most like 90s Saved by the Bell kind of vibe to it. And this came out with like a palette bingo style game with the palette, where you pick the colours and like it's all these like cards. You just turn over these cards and there's like little points on it, and then you have to pick. You get a colour assigned to a certain part of your eye that you have to use it in that certain area as well. Now you can just do a general random number generator and do a palette bingo that way, which is always the easier way to do it as well. But it was a fun concept, and that's kind of what drew me in as well. But also the colour story. This colour story is so stunning. There's just so much in here that I can actually play with, and so much that I can do and create and put together, and weird colour combos and very cohesive colour combos as well. Like already in the viewfinder, I'm looking at this little corner down here with this kind of like plummy brown, blue, this like blue purple, like royal blue duochrome and pink. I don't know why, but I'm already feeling that little section right there. I This is the one I forgot about a little bit until I took it out. I knew I used it obviously, but I forgot about how beautiful it was. And this is the reason why I want to kind of not buy any more palettes and play a little bit more with what I have, because I want to play with this. I really, really, really want to play with this more. I remember playing with this, and I was watching American Horror Story when I played with this, and I just want to play with it a little bit more. I want to play with these chartreusey shades. Instead of doing the palette bingo style, because that's what I did in my first impressions, was I did the game of this to kind of get a random look. But I want to play with it a little more. I want to do different things with it, and this is exciting me. This palette really excites me right now, and the only reason it's down this far is kind of because I forgot about it a little bit. And there's other things that like equally as excite me as well, but I remember how I felt about them. This one, just, yeah, I just want to play with it again. And from one colourful bright palette to the next, this is the Odin's Eye and Betty Jean Planet Spirit palette from the Perfect World collection. Couldn't think of the name of it there, oh my god. This is your colourful summer carnival in a palette. Look at this. This is beautiful. And I love the shimmers. This shade here is so just stunning. I vividly remember filming the videos with this and just playing with it a little more. This one looks wet here as well. You do have a multi-chrome as well, but you've kind of got a matte and a shimmer to kind of go together in all of this. And I just really love like the brightness of it compared to her previous two collabs with Shroud, which are very spooky and grungy. This is like the colourful version of her, and I love that. And it's like it's also kind of like my other side as well. It's like my colourful side. The way I describe myself to people is Wednesday Addams and Enid from the Wednesday TV show. Both are me. I have the Wednesday side where I'm all death and destruction, not destruction, where I'm all like, you know, morbid and goth. I mean, and grunge and just like all these kind of different morbid kind of things. And then my other side is all bright and colourful and rainbows and unicorns and fairies and fantasy and everything like that. So this is like my Enid side of myself, and I just love this palette so much. I think it's so pretty, and you would probably be surprised that this isn't higher, because every other Betty Jean like palette that she's come out with has ranked very high, but there has been some absolute bangers this year. And I know not all of my palettes are new to this year. Some are, a lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. And I never claim to always have the new stuff coming out, because I don't get PR, so I don't get time to get all the new stuff, nor the money. Next up is another Glamlite palette. Which one will it be this time? This is the Crazy in Love Chucky palettes. Chucky and Tiffany. I have to keep saying that. There's my gorgeous dynamic duo right there. Has anyone watched a Chucky TV show, by the way? Oh my god, I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. It's insane. It's bonkers. It's gory. It's hilarious. And Chucky's just bananas in it. And I love it so much. Like, it's getting more far-fetched every season, and I'm still loving it. I still love it so much. Like, Chucky's currently in the White House. That's all I gotta say. So for this palette, this is what kicked off the Glamlite horror collection. So this done so well, and I was like desperate. I was desperate to get this palette. And this is it here. It's the most gorgeous grunge burgundy red toned palette with the cool tones, with the silvers and the greys, but you have that lovely burgundy red purple element to it to kind of give the Tiffany vibes. This for me is if Tiffany went somewhere and picked out an eyeshadow palette for herself, like individually, these are all the colours she would pick. This is Tiffany's palette, really. And I was desperate for this palette. Like, I was like messaging brands. I was like, I messaged Glamlite multiple times. I was like, I need this palette. Like, you have to, I will spend money. I need this palette, because Chucky is one of my friends. I love him. He's my friend till the end. And I eventually got it, and I was so happy with it. I love the looks I created with it as well. I really want to play with it a little bit more and I did actually for spooky season just gone. I done a like reverse smoky eye two-tone kind of look with it, and I think it's going to be really fun to kind of play with it again. Maybe do a palette bingo, one of my other Glamlite horror palettes as well. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of play with this a little more. But this is the reason why this is ahead of the Scream one is because there is that burgundy red purple element. There's a few more colours added in. bit more variety in the palette. And then the second Odin's Eye from the Perfect World collection. This is the Flora Story palette from Makeup Just for Fun and Odin's Eye. And the packaging is stunning. And it's all kind of different elements of like the perfect world. So Betty Jean's was the like planet spirit. So it's like the spirit of the world, which is like the animals and the nature and all that kind of stuff. Well, this is more the nature. This is like the plants and the forest and all that kind of stuff. And the other one was the Sea Talk, which was by Lauren May Beauty. I didn't get because the colour story didn't really feel for me, but also I was like, I'm trying to limit myself, so I'll only get 2. This, however, oh my god, is this such a stunning palette. The shimmers again, multi-chrome, but gorgeous like foil shimmers. You've got like, you do have mattes that go with all the shimmers as well in a different format. The other one was like very like linear like that, but like this you kind of chop around and change. These purples are so just gorgeous and softened purples and plummy shades as well. The greens are beautiful again, khaki but softened. Everything is like a softened version, and you would think I wouldn't like that, but for some reason in this palette I love this. The shimmers are beautiful. Oh my god, they're so beautiful. I love it so much. I love the shade Shroom as well. I love that kind of neutral. If I'm going to go neutral, I love that shade. But yeah, I love the tone of this. Every time I open it, I'm like, you are just appealing to my eyes. And I love it so much. And next we've got another spooky palette, but it's not a glam light palette. This is the Give Me Glow Cosmetics Haunted Pumpkin palette. This packaging just always gives me the fuzzy feels. I don't know why, it just does. And this is the gorgeous colour story. She's also a little bit dirty. You can tell my palettes are very loved. This is the gorgeous colour story. Isn't it just weird? And don't you just love it? It's so weird and I love it. Again, formula amazing. The mattes are so blendable and beautiful and buildable. And you've got a cool matte to kind of go with all the shimmers. I do kind of maybe wish there was one more shimmer in here. I don't really know what I'd substitute out for it, but I just kind of wish there was like this orange in a shimmer. Like, I know we've got the copper, but I'm talking about this orange in a shimmer. This shade over here, however, is so stunning. It's so wet looking. It's so foiled looking on the eye. And I just love how odd this colour story is, but still speaks autumn, spooky season, haunted vibes, even though it's a weird colour story. It kind of just fills a little void in my heart. And I only recently played with this in October as well for my spooky season, and I love the looks I created with it as well. I think it's so beautiful. I love that like this is technically like our lightest shimmer, which is still works. I've used it as an inner corner highlight. Your darker shades are mattes as well. Just a very odd colour story, but very lovable colour story as well. Okay, we are down to our final 8 because I counted, so if I messed up any of the numbers, we're down to 8. Next up is another spooky palette straight after my other spooky palette that I tried for the first time this year. That's not a horror themed palette. Well, it kind of is. This is the Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette. It's got the lenticular packaging. Gorgeous. When this first launched, I was like, oh my god, I need that. And then just never bought it until it was about to be discontinued, and then I decided to buy it. Obviously, I know, it's stupid. But this was like one of the first, apart from like the Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette, this is like one of the first palettes that came out that was like spooky themed. It was like horror themed, and I loved it so much. And it's so beautiful. So I know everyone sort of says the same thing as well. So people say it's like the harvest, and some people say it's like the graveyard or the spooky, the Halloween side. For me, this is like my September palette. These 9 here, September, and these 9 are October. That's the way I look at it. For me, this is like so October, just so dark and mysterious, and this is so kind of like just pumpkin patch sort of vibes to it as well. The shimmers are stunning. They kind of also have that putty sort of texture as well, which is workable. And the colour story is amazing. The mattes blend beautifully. I loved the looks that I created with this as well. I thought they were so fun. I think it's such a gorgeous little palette. Well, kind of bigger palette. The Ghost Town USA still tempting me, but no, Carla, you have this. This is fine. And yeah, I don't know. I just really like this palette. I just think it's so, I don't know why I feel like I'm so up close here, but I just think it's such a beautiful palette. So it had to be ranked high. And I feel like with this, the reason why it's above the Haunted Pumpkin palette is because I feel like there's just a little bit more variety in the colours that I can use in this. Like, not that I can use them all, but colours that I can like pair together and do a little bit more and kind of create more interesting colour stories with as well, because there is more shades in it as well. And I just nearly dropped it and almost had a little heart attack. Next up is a small palette. I think it's the smallest palette of my collection. It is. This is the Odin's Eye Urd palette. Now this, if you ever want to do a small palette makeup brand, look at this palette. This is how you do a small palette that is cohesive. It all works well together. It gives some variety, some, not a whole lot. It is still a green palette. Some variety to your looks. And it's just so cohesive for 6 eyeshadows. 6. I have seen 30 pan eyeshadows not be as cohesive as this one. It is insane. You've got 3 mattes, 3 shimmers, beautiful. You've got blending, and also your darker shade is a matte with all your matte shades. You've also got your lightest shade as shimmer and a deeper shimmer if you want to go deep and smoky. This for me, as a Slytherin, as a proud Slytherin, this is my Slytherin palette. Oh my god, because you've got your silvers and your greens and your emeralds, and this shade, Luxury. Oh my god, I use this on like all over, and it was so beautiful. It was just so stunning. I love this little palette, and it's just something I think is like, it can be forgettable, not for me, but I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this palette anymore, and it needs to be talked about again. It's so stunning. But the reason why it's not higher, I have to be raving about it, is because again, colour story, there's more variety with other things. There's a lot of variety with this little one as well, but you are only going to get so far with 6 shades. Number 6 is the most recent palette I just used. Most recent. Go back and have a look and tell me what it is. This is the Odin's Eye, another one, Merry Christmas palette. I had to have these palettes. Like with the first time these launched last Christmas, I didn't order them, and I don't know why. I was like, they're so pretty, and I see so many people use them and they're so beautiful, but I just didn't order them, and I just don't know, and I was kicking myself ever since. So this year they said they were bringing them back because they sold out so quick, and then they brought out 2 other palettes, a snowman and a reindeer one. I don't know what they're called, but those 2 other palettes. And I was like, oh, here's my chance, I'm going to get these 2. And I was thinking about getting another one, but I was like, no, Carla, just get the ones you really, really want. And Merry Christmas was one of them. This is Like My Wall. I don't have my lights on, I forgot. Like My Wall back there with fairy lights on it. This can be my fairy lights on my wall. But this is just so beautiful. You have got 8 shimmers, 8 mattes. You've got multichrome, duochrome, you've got foiled, you've got chunky shimmers, you have got very thin shimmers. And it's everything. This, and this. The look I created for my first impressions with this is the most Christmas look you're going to be able to get out of this palette. I swear to God, it's the most Christmas. It was red and green and gold. Very simple. I cannot wait to play with this lime shade up here, and this emerald here is beautiful. I cannot wait to play with the pink. I don't know why pink, it's just looking at me here. And this little warm and cozy side over here. I just really, really love the idea of this palette. I think it's beautiful, and cannot wait to play with it again. I just can't wait to bust it out again for next Christmas, which I will be doing a 2 looks one palette next Christmas for. I was just too sick. And then our last Glamlight horror palette. Can you guess what it is? If you go back to a certain movie, Freddy vs. Jason, and look at who I have already talked about, you'll know who came out on top in my Freddy vs. Jason, and it's shocking. I went with Friday the 13th. I went with the Friday the 13th palette, the Cramp Crystal Lake 15 colour palette, and I don't even like the original. Well, I don't mind. I enjoy the original for what it is. The original Friday the 13th. I prefer the remake. Don't shoot me. Don't unsubscribe. It's my opinion. Whatever. But I do tend to lean towards Freddy because there's more to him. There's more charisma to him. But this palette has more charisma, I think. Like, oh, it's just so good. I've only done a first impressions with it. I have played with it a little bit more outside of that when I didn't have time to film a 2 looks one palette. I kind of dipped into a few shades. I cannot wait to play more with the greens. I kind of mostly did like the blues and reds in this one, and a little bit of one of the greens. Cannot wait to play with this like gorgeous shade here. I can't wait to play with this side as well, the softer side in a Friday 13th palette. I'm sorry. And just more with the shimmers and see what we can do and what we can get out of it. It's the most, like, this is everything I want in a, I'm not picking my nose by the way, I'm just scratching. This is what I want out of, like, say the Scream palette. I wanted something more cohesive like this, where there's more variety with the colours that still represent the movie that you're going to watch, but also gives you more variety in it. And this one done it perfectly. And when I first seen the picture, I was kind of like, yeah, it's alright. This one is the one. This is the one. If you want to get one of them, this is it, because you're going to get the most out of it as well. And there is some neutrals in it, shocking as well. Yeah, I'm obsessed with this palette so much. I every time I think about this palette, I get a little bit excited because I'm like, oh, those colours are so beautiful. And we're on the home stretch. We are on the final 4, my top 4. So you've seen my 5. Did you guess correct? I don't think you would have guessed that one because I was surprised. That one just kept moving up the pile instead of moving down the pile. It kept moving up. So my top 5. Guess now. My top 4. Guess now what you think my top 4 is going to be. Let me know what you think in what order. What's my number 1? Oh, what's my number 1? I already know. What do you guys think? So next up is the other Odin's Eye Christmas palette. This one went up ahead of the other one for a reason. This is the Christmas Eve palette. And this was just... I look at this palette and I get happy. Like... And it doesn't even look like much. Like it does. It looks stunning. Doesn't even really look like much in like... when I seen it first and all that kind of stuff, although I thought it was beautiful and I loved the looks everyone was doing with it, I was kind of like, oh yeah, it's really, really nice. I like the other one more. When I first started using this and I used these blue shades, that was it. They had me. You had me. And then you've got these like mustardy kind of shades. This is like your winter in the woods in a cabin, and like this is the kind of vibes that are around you, like with the wintry kind of vibes, and you've got the greens as well dotted around. This shade is beautiful. I've done a gorgeous kind of giant winged liner with this one. The shimmers are beautiful. This silver up here is stunning, and I do just want to play with this like so much more. I'm going to do like a get ready with me or something like that around Christmas time again with this palette. But yeah, I'm so obsessed with this palette. I just think it's so stunning. I think it just shocked me, and I knew it was going to be a pie in my ranking. I know I only recently used it and I can be a little bit biased with that as well, but there is palettes here that I used earlier on in the year. In fact, one of them very early on in the year in my top 4, so you know, I can balance it out. But yeah, this I knew it was going to be a pie. I just knew. Next up, we've got a palette that I've only done a first impressions on, but also very near and dear to my heart right now as well. And I've other palettes from this brand that I haven't even used yet. But this is the Unearthly Cosmetics Fairy Frolic palette. Now, I got a message off Unearthly Cosmetics on Instagram around about August, I think, saying that they were checking out my stuff and that they want to send me a PR box. They were sending out a few PR boxes to kind of smaller Instagrammers, and they wanted to send me one. And I was like, oh my god, no way. Thinking it was going to be like a palette and a lipstick and whatever. No, there was 3 palettes, 4 highlighters, 5 liquid lipsticks, and 8 of their Immortal liquid liners, which are like their duochrome liquid liners. I was shooketh. This is the one that I pulled out because I was posting it in September, and this is the one that gave me the most like autumn vibes at the time. It's the Fairy Frolic palette. This is like a fairy jumping around in the woods. That's what this colour story reminds me of. I've done a 2 looks. Have I done? No, I haven't done a 2 looks on palette with this. I have it on my list though. That's what I keep thinking of. I have it on my list. I used a lot of colours out of this though, so I have got a good feel of how this works. But I am excited to kind of narrow in and kind of do a very cohesive look with like just a couple of the shades here and there. And this one here is just so beautiful. I cannot wait to play with more like the greens in here as well. And I just think it's for 9 colours. In fact, my other 2 are 9 pans as well. For 9 pan palettes, this is how you do it. Like that brown will go with everything. This tone of brown will go with everything in this palette. But you've also got a darker green and then a mustardy yellowy shade as well. And I just think it's a very cohesive autumn palette that still has a bit of brightness to it. It's not super grunge, but you could make it that way if you wanted it to be. But I will be doing my other videos with the other 2 palettes. I've got the Resurgence and I've got the Dead of Night palette as well. So we'll be doing first impressions and all that coming up this year as well, earlier on in the year, because I want to get them kind of done because I got them kind of a while ago. And next up, another autumn grunge palette. This is the Fantasy Cosmetica Druid palette. I even opened it to look at it again. I was like, oh, you are just beautiful. Look at it. It's so pretty. Oh my god, the shivers in this palette are so beautiful. This green in the middle, oh, I just want it everywhere. I want it all over me. This one, where is a Regrowth? This one here was kind of like a burgundy base with this green shimmer through it. Like it feels very hard pressed, but when it's on the eye, it's so stunning. Just the duochromes in it and everything. I just think you get such fun autumn vibes. You can just do a smoky eye with it. You can just go neutral with it, which I already did as well. I've done a 2 looks on palette with this, and I just really love the look of this palette. I just think this is so autumn and simple and just everything you kind of need for that time of the year as well. And finally, on to number 1 is another 9 pan. It is another grunge. It is so beautiful. Are we shocked to hear that it is another Shroud palette making it to the top of my list? No, we are not. And I used this very early on in the year, like quite early on. As soon as it kind of launched, I bought it and got it and then used it straight away. This is the Moonfall palette and it's just so pretty. Every time I open it, the shimmer is just, oh, they're singing to me. Absolutely singing to me. A lot of these shades were single shades that Shroud had in their collection for ages, and I never just never thought to do it. And then everyone was like, please make it a palette, and they did, and they kind of amped up a lot of the shimmers and everything like that in the palette. But it's just so pretty. Like the darker shade is a matte, the lighter shade is a shimmer, technically this one, but like there's no real light shades in it, which I don't really mind. I can just pull in an inner corner highlight from it. There's greens. This artifact shade is so beautiful. I love like this kind of navy sort of dark shade here as well. Duochromes, all that kind of stuff, and I just think it's such a rich palette. These shimmers are so buttery. The Shroud shimmer formula is still one of my favorites in my whole collection. It's just such a fun palette, grungy palette, jewel toned palette, just a very nice like rich palette. Like you'll get a very rich look out of this as well. I loved the looks I created with this. My first impressions and my 2 looks on palette, I think it was just so pretty, and I just enjoyed playing with it so much. And every time I do open this palette, I'm like, I just want to swatch it all. This just had to be it. This one just kept slotting up. I didn't think this was going to be my number 1 until I was putting them all out, and I was like, nope, Shroud again, Shroud up, 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 until I got to number 1, and I just couldn't get anything else in front of it. So this is it. This is my number 1 palette of the year. I'm probably as shocked as you are, trust me, because I thought maybe the Druid was going to be number 1. I thought maybe a spooky palette was going to make it number 1. This could be kind of classed as spooky, like witchy kind of themed, but like it's not. It's just like fantasy sort of themes. It's a fantasy kind of palette, and I just love the tones in this palette so much. I'm so happy this is my number 1, and I'm not shocked at all that another Shroud palette is in my number 1 spot. So that is it. That is our palette ranking for 2023, and this is my 3rd one that I've done. Third. I think it's my 3rd one that I've done, and I'm shocked at 1, the amount of palettes I managed to get through. 2, the quality of the palettes that I got as well this year, that I was able to play with and everything like that. The variety of kind of older palettes, newer palettes, and everything in between. And just the fact that I've got like spooky palettes, all the horror palettes. I'm so surprised at how many horror palettes came out this year. And I have Christmas palettes as well to add to my collection. I can already see like Get Ready With Me's that I want to do with them. As I said, I'm going to be working on 2 looks on palettes at ones I haven't done, but I will be doing Get Ready With Me videos using these palettes and playing with some of the palettes here, but also some very old palettes that I have that I've used years ago, when I started getting like properly like plowing through my YouTube. I want to play with them as well. So any palette that is in my collection that you want to see any more looks with, I'll do a Get Ready With Me or something like that, and see what else can be done with the palettes and just play with them a little bit more. I just want to play with my collection. I have all these palettes and they're just kind of sitting there, and I just want to play with them, and I want you guys to kind of dip into your own collection to play with them as well and get a bit creative with all your palettes. I'm actually right now, as I finish filming this video, I'm going to build my first palette for my January palette, because I'm doing a monthly series of build your own palettes of a theme for each month, and I'm going to make my own palette now because I'm very excited. I just have that mood where I want to get creative. I'm going to plan out the rest of my videos for the year. My first draft, it always kind of changes as the year goes on, but just like the general gist of how the year is at least going to start. So any ideas of videos you want to see, anything, leave it in the comments below. I'll add it to my list. I'll get to it eventually as I can fit it in anywhere. But yeah, I'm just, I don't know, I'm so happy with all my palettes. And that's why I want to do a no buy, because I am happy with my palettes and I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it where I'm very happy. If I received any in PR, that's a different story. But I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. But yeah, I'm just so thrilled with everything, and I hope you all enjoyed all the content that I used with these palettes. So let me know down in the comments below what your ranking is for your palettes this year that you tried for the first time. Let me know what your ranking, if you haven't tried many palettes, what your ranking would be of these. If you have any of these, what are your rankings? What's your top 5 palettes of the year that you've used in 2023. If you did like this video, give me a big thumbs up down below. It's the quickest, simplest and easiest way to give me a little bit of support to get more out for people, and also let me know that you like the video and I'll continue to do many more. And don't forget to subscribe down below to see many more videos coming up. We will be posting so much content. I will be posting, going to a schedule sort of every Friday I will post a video. I'm not going to be like whole set on that day, but that's the kind of day I'm aiming for every week. So I'm not, one, overloading myself with too much work, because I am actually starting a new job, still a makeup artist, but more managerial end of it. So it might be a little bit busier. It might give me a little bit more free time as well. So I don't know, who knows. So I'm hoping to do every Friday. That's my aim for each week and each month, every Friday, and post a different video and kind of keep a variety of videos going. So it's not just like first impressions, 2 looks, 1 palette, first impressions, 2 looks, 1 palette. That doesn't mean to say that I won't be doing the spooky season. I will be doing my 16 videos, hopefully, if I get them done. And I will be doing a little bit more in December as well. So you get all that content coming up. So hit subscribe down below to see all of that. So that is it. That is our ranking. And that is all I have to say on the matter. So I am going to see you guys in the next video. Bye.